Okay, good morning, good day. Here we are, 20 of Sivan. Once again, our learning should be, I know it does, but we should see the signs of it very clearly, bringing refuah shlema to all those who need refuah. Who are they?
Baruch Benjamin ben Rachel Blima, Yehudis Golda bas Aliza Chana, Shoshana bas Hana.
Refuah shlema b'korev mamash.
Okay, Devor Rachel bat Mem Chava and Mem Esther bat Shulamit and Hanka bat Miriam, Leagela bat Sima, and Natanel ben Sima Chaya.
Refuah shlema b'korev.
Amen.
Anybody else?
I have Fega Bas Shoshana and Cole Ben Nicolette.
Refuah shlema b'korev mamash. Anybody else? Okay, Hayom Yom. What's the message for today? Like a time capsule. Little messages dropping in from beyond time into time. Among my grandfather's aphorisms, his sayings, is the Frierdiker Rebbe speaking about the sayings of the Rebbe Maharash. So he said, the intellectual and emotional structure of the Chassid is consonant with his first Yechidus with his Rebbe. It's the external aspect, of Midos and Seichel. The first Yechidus is commensurate, and it's commensurate with the essence character of the Chassid. Reading the word in Hebrew is the Mahus, the particularity, the particular Mahus of this particular Chassid. The Rebbe sees into that and gives whatever is appropriate for that particular Mahus. The Rebbe prescribes an order of avodah appropriate to the nature of the Chassid's essential character. So, many of us had the excuse of having Yechidus, more than one perhaps, with the Rebbe when he was in a body. But we still have channels to the essence, to the Yechidus of the Rebbe, through his writings. As the Rebbe Rashav, the father of the Frierdiker Rebbe, said that on his departure, he said, I'm going up, but I'm leaving you my writings. And just like Hashem invested himself, his very self, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha, in his writings, so has our Rebbe and all the Rebbe. Okay, with that, we'll move on. We'll take another angle. We'll see. Lessons in Tanya, starting new chapter 7. After a long introduction, it starts on page 908 in Lessons in Tanya. Kutiamorim, it starts Perek Zayin on page 162. Ubezeh Yuvan. With this will be understood. Now, what's the this? Back on page Perek Aleph, the Alter Rebbe began this Shayich Remun and said, you should know today and put it upon your heart that Hashem is Elokim, and in the heavens and above and in the earth below, there is nothing besides him. And that's what we have been explaining, that the experience of something besides him is a result of something that is coming from Hashem himself, which is called the Tzimtzum. It does not bespeak something else besides him. It bespeaks a particular manifestation of the way in which Hashem manifests himself. And he manifests himself in several ways, the several that I'm talking about being the various degrees of Tzimtzum. But all those Tzimtzumim come from him himself, and all of the things which are externalized from the Tzimtzum are initially or primordially embedded with him in the first place. And that's basically what we have said so far. I mean, at least what's relevant, I believe, to this particular chapter. And with this that I just mentioned, will be understood what's written in the Holy Zohar. The Holy Zohar says that Pasuk Shema Yisrael hu Yehuda Ilah, the Pasuk Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that Echad is a high level of unity, Yehuda Ilah. And then the next Pasuk, Baruch Shem Kavoid Malchuso La'olam Va'ed, is Yehuda Tatah, is a lower level of unity. So he's going to explain. This is going to hark back and echo, having been echoed in the expression Havaya Hu Elakim, which we spoke about yesterday. Both are godly states. Havaya, referring to a more panemius state where everything is encapsulated. Well, that's not a good word. Everything is one with him before it materializes or externalizes. That's the Shem Havaya, which is the functionality that's responsible for Yud Hava, for continual being. But the actualization or the externalization of that being is in the letters and words that he speaks from his mouth. So there is the internal source, which is Havaya, and there's the Shem Elokim, which bespeaks Simsum and Gevurah, which is Hashem externalizing himself. The former being Yehuda Elah, and the latter being Yehuda Tatah, as he will explain. In fact, we see this, that they both signify the oneness, because he says, where am I? Ki voed, because the word voed, right? Borashem kabed malchuso leilam voed, hu echad is the same word as echad, v'chalufi asfun, by transformation of the letters. Now, these are not transformation of visual letters. These are phonetic. They're phonetic. The dalid in both of them, right? Echad and voed doesn't need any explanation. It sounds the same. The ches in echad, right, and the ayin and the aleph all belong to the same category of letters, which are guttural. In Ashkenazic Hebrew, we don't pronounce them gutturally, but in Sephardic and in more Eastern pronunciations, they are pronounced gutturally. So they have all the letters in voed and echad are phonetically on the same plane. Equal to each other. So that's what he means by that their echad, voed and echad are equal. B'chalufi asfun, if you transform the letters.
What's asfan literally? What is that? A different language?
It's called Aramaic, right? Letters. Asfan.
And what asfan means? Letters.
Letters. Yeah. Ois in Hebrew.
Okay.
A letter. Kihine sibas v'tam hatzimsum. So the cause and the reason. Now, we translate a reason. That's correct, the translation. But Hashem doesn't need any reasons for anything. You could also, this word is tam, to get a taste of, a flavor of the tzimtzum. Kihine sibas v'tam hatzimsum, the cause and the flavor or the reason of the tzimtzum, the hahester hazeh, and this concealment, shehastir v'halam hakodesh baruch hu es chayos shel ha'olam, which Hashem concealed. He put it away. He camouflaged it, and he embedded it in his deep hiddenness. He hid it away. He camouflaged it and hid it away. Who did that? The Hakadosh Baruch Hu. The reason is so the reason for this, that he did this, that he hid away the life force, es hachayos shel ha'olam, the life force of the world, in order that the world should appear to be something on its own. Who you do it. It's known. The reason for this is you do a. It's known to everybody. The whole purpose of the implementation via the Simsum of the appearance of popping out from unity of the multiplicity of creation is because the whole purpose of the creation, i.e., that there should be the experience of something other than Hashem, the whole purpose of this is bishvil his galus malchusa yisbarach, is for the revelation of God's kingdom. And as it says Rabbeinu Bechai in Amuka HaMelech, the depth of the king. He writes, De'ein melech b'lei am. The expression over and over again. So there is no king without a people. If Hashem wants, and we could ask why he wants this, but we're not going to ask that. First of all, it has no answer. Secondly, it's not really appropriate germane to what we're talking about, but he wants to be king. Ana emlech, that's what he says. I want to be king. And in melech b'lei am, there's no king without a people. Now, people is going to play on this word now. Am. Hirish am. Am miloshin oimemois. Oimemois are dim coals. Coals, like if you ever made a barbecue with coals, you light them up, and they burn, they flame, then the gasoline goes away, and then they get to a state of grayness, right? Which, paradoxically, shows no heat, but that's the hot state of the coals. That's when you cook. So we also, creation shows no heat. It's camouflaged. The heat is camouflaged within it. The Devar Hashem is embedded in it. And what you see is not what you get. What you see is separateness. And what you're getting is unity. But the unity is buried underneath. So that's the mashal of Aimamus, coals. And there's no kingdom without Am, without coals. So we're the coals. We look and walk and talk like normal human beings. We look and talk like separate entities. But deep down, not so deep down, but inside, we carry a big heat. And that heat, or light in other mashalim, is the revelation of Hashem down here on earth, which is the Geula Shlema. So we carry that within us. We are a am, like Meloshin Aimimos dim coals. Shehem devorim nefradim. Now these coals, in addition to not showing any heat or light, they're also all separate. All these coals in the barbecue, they're layered. The barbecue is layered with many pieces of coal. And so things appear to be separate. Vizorim, and appear to be strange. In other words, they're not part and parcel of the light, the way we visualize, the way we experience it. There's something separate. And these, now back to the metaphor, just like the coals don't show their connection, so the people, the populace, the Am, over which the king is that whole relationship between king and people depends on some distance. There has to be the king over them, Melech al ha'am, over the king, over the people. So the people are, in his words, nifradim, separate, bezorim, and strange, virachaikim, and far away from the level of the king. We're going further now with this mashal. Even if the king had a lot of children, very much. He's never the king over his children. He's a parent-child relationship, not king subject, even though he may have many children. And likewise, with Cain, afilu al sorim levado, if he has princes and he has officers, right? He's not king over them. They're his agents, but this is not his kingdom. His kingdom is from those who are far away from him. Al-Hamon Am, the average person, the average bloke, is subject to the king, the laws and edicts of the king. And as he says, Rak b'roiv Am, it's only when he has a lot of Am, a lot of ordinary people, Dafka, specifically then you see the Hadras Melech, the beauty, the power of the king. Hashem Hamora Amidas Malchusi is Borach, and the name of Hashem, which shows on this aspect of kingship, of his blessed kingship, whose Shem Adnois is the name Adnois or Adnoi. Ki hu Adoin kol ha'oretz, because Adnoi simply means he is the Lord over all the earth. He's in charge of those who are not belonging to his household, not belonging to his inner circle. They have a different relationship, but dafka those who are on the outer circle. V'nimsa, so it comes out, Kimida zu, this attribute of Adon, kingship, Malchus, the Shem Zeh, and this name Malchus, or Adonai, Hein hamahavin umakayim ha'olam. This is the name, Malchus, Melech, or the name of God, which is Adonai. This is the name which is bringing into being and keeping extant the entire world. Lies olam kamay shehu achshav, that the world should be as it is now, which once again, over many times I say this, olam iloshen helam, the state that it's in is that the world, olam, is in a state of helam, deliberately. Otherwise, there's no kingship. It has to be am. It has to be something that feels itself separate for kingship to be the appropriate word. And that separateness is a function of the Shem Adonai, which harks back to, that's the operative name of God that expresses Tzimtzum, Adonai, lordship over something else. And that something else is the experience that we have of being a Yesh Gomer, a completely substantial, independent, right? The connections between us, which exist, are not physical connections. I'm here, you're there. And the connections are much more subtle, much more invisible, much more primordial. But at surface level, each one of us is a Yesh Gomer, a completely defined single entity. V'davar nifrad, and something separate, one from another, bifnei atzmai, and stands alone. Each one of us, at least ostensibly, at first glance, which is the way most people see everything all the time, unfortunately, they're separate from each other. And that has the function, that separateness, that giving us the experience of being a Yesh Gomer, has the function of sustaining our particular, personal, individual metzius, our existence. Because if, well, in a case, he said, in the case when or if that midah of adnos, kingship, were to be retracted or depart, histalkus, this midah, the shem zeh, and this name, Adonai, which is a function of, expressing the function of Malchus, if that were to disappear, chas v'sholem, why chas v'sholem? Because hoya oilam chayzelim akayre, the world would return to its source before the Shem Adonai, before the Tzimtzum, back to its source, the Devar Hashem v'ruach piv, which that source is in the speech, metaphorically, of course, we've had this many times, metaphorically, the speech of Hashem and the breath of his mouth, Yisborach, Ubotol Sham v'metzias, and everything would become absolute, its existence would become absolutely nullified. V'lehoya shem oilam olav klal, and there would no longer be the name world upon anything. There would be no world, no oilam, if not for the helam, oilam helam, for the Tzimtzum. And that's today's time. Questions? Comments? Tanya.
You know, I saw an article about the Aron and about how it didn't, you know, it had measurements, but it didn't take up space.
Correct. Correct. What do you want to say about that?
So I'm thinking about, you know, how Hashem creates this world.
Yep.
But but it's not necessarily, it's here in the physical, but it's not in the physical.
Yeah. The place of the Aron is not measured. If you measure the Aron so much distance, right, and then measure the room, the room would be the same space in physical measurement with the Aron or without it, because the Aron took up no place. So this is, as you say, correctly and very important, that Hashem, in the Tzimtzum, which is the sense of measurement, the sense of there is a place and it's measured, at the same time, there is Hashem who has no place and who is the place of the world, and who takes up no space. And that, in a nutshell, is the difference between Yehuda Ilah and Yehuda Tatah, as will be explained. Yehuda Allah is the unity in which everything that ever will be in a different state of, here it is now, and I can touch it and feel it, is all embedded in the allness in a place where it completely disappears. There's no Metzius to it whatsoever. That allness, and that allness is present in everything. However, it's so-called disguised in the factor of the Tzimtzum, which makes it appear as though it's not there. So the Aaron is there, and it's not there at the same time. Rivka.
Hi. I think what we read today reminds us how dependent we are upon Hashem. How
Sure.
how everything that we see around us is part of Hashem, and that's an awesome thought, and keep in the front of the mind that you're always feeling grateful.
Yes.
And yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Just
absolutely.
nice.
EC, you're up. Who's EC? Oh, Elisheva. Yeah, okay.
Hi. So I have a question about Adnos. He's talking here about Adnos, but meanwhile, it's Havaya that we're talking about.
No. When he says Adnos, he means Adnos. He means Tzimtzum. Ultimately, we'll see he means Yehuda Tatah. Godliness.
Isn't he referring to the
godliness which is not manifest. Go ahead.
Isn't this based on the pasuk Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu versus Baruch Shem, and we're talking about Hashem Elokeinu? Where does
Adnos is Elokeinu. Adnos is the lower. Adnos is Elokeinu. Havaya is, and that's Yehuda Tatah. That's, as he says, Adnos is what's responsible for the appearance of everything as it is, and without Adnos, everything would revert back to the level of Yehuda Allah, in the language we're now using at the moment, where everything disappears. That's Havaya. Havaya, but you have to know, Havaya Hu Elokim, that the allness is invested in the everythingness, that the oneness is invested in the Tzimtzum, that Havaya is invested in Adnai.
Right. So so Havaya is the inner working, like the inner gears, kind of like, and Adnos and Elokim is the outside. Yeah.
You could think of it like that. Yes. Although Havaya is even deeper than any gears, but it works. The inside versus the outside, the inner workings, the higher workings, the inner workings versus the lower or outer workings. Havaya on the one hand, Adnos or Elokim on the other hand.
So this is the first time I ever heard Adnos and Havaya are synonymous.
No, they're not. They're not synonymous.
No, not Havaya. Adnos and Elokim. Sorry.
Oh,
Adnos
right. Yeah, okay, right. Adnos and Elokim, yes.
They're synonymous?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, good. And they show on Midas Malchusa. There's another word was from. It shows on the attribute of his Malchus. When we call Hashem king, you have to have something else to be over, right? Having something else to be over is connected with the Shem Adon, with Adnai, and with the Shem Elokim. Elokim, that root, you've probably come across this in the Chumash, is mighty, powerful. And that power means that there's a power in something, that I can have power over something. And that something is expressed only because of the Shem Adnai, or the Shem Elokim, which is all rolled up into the concept of Tzimtzum. Elokim is the Tzimtzum. Havaya is before the Tzimtzum.
Is there a reason why we say Adni instead of Havaya? When we say Shema Yisrael Adon, we say Adnos instead of Havaya, not instead of Elokim.
Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu.
We say Adon.
Hashem Echad. Where
we
you
say
saying?
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. We say Adnos.
Why do we pronounce it Adonai instead of Hashem?
Yeah, because it's Adnai is supposed is like correlates with
Shema
with Elohim.
Yisrael. Wait, we don't say that. We say Shema Yisrael.
Instead of
Yeah,
Havaya, we say
yeah.
Adnai.
Okay, in speech, right? You say, why do we not say the name Havaya? Well, I don't really know. I mean, it's called the Shem HaMefurish. It's compartmentalized for particular places and times where it's said. I don't have in my mind any reason why, but that is the way things are, right? That the Shem Havaya is not said as it's written.
Right, and instead there's Adnos, which is really Elohim. So really, what we're saying is Shema Yisrael, Elohim, Elohim, Elohim.
No, but no, we're not. Don't think that. We're saying that's what our mouth is saying, but the words on the page are Havaya Hu Elohim. We say Havaya. Why don't we say Havaya? Because that's not the name of God. I don't know. The answer is why don't we say Yud Ke Vav Ke Beferish? I don't know the reason for that. Maybe someone else does.
Well, I think it's because it's not pronounceable. Each of the four, it's really just a breath. It's the Yud is the and the Hey
I don't know.
And the Vav is really Wah.
It is pronounced in certain situations, in certain specific situations. So it's not
No,
like
I think it's ineffable, meaning like it's really a breath. Like all of those letters are not really pronounceable. Like they're really.
I have an idea. Why don't you two do a little research on this? And report back to us.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, no, really, it's an interesting question. Why don't we say this Shem HaMefurish generally? But you have to, when you look at it, you have to think two different things: Havaya and Elohim.
Because you see Yud Ke Vav Ke. You see it. Right. You're looking at that's one of the important things about reading.
You have to see it that way. You have to see it before the Simsum, Havaya before the Simsum, Elohim after the Simsum.
That's the makshava that you're supposed to have at the time, that they're the same.
So if there's no melech without an and we're considered banim lamakom, we're considered his.
Well, no. I mean, this is a yes and no.
Are the rest of the nations? Maybe the rest of the nations are the and we're the banim.
No. We're both banim and we're both banim and We're both. We are his people. We are his There's no question about that. We also have a relationship between him, and this is expressed in the earlier parts of Tanya. The love like a father to somebody. We're talking about different kinds of love. Love karish ve'esh, love like a flaming fire. That's when you're distant and you're yearning to be close, and you're all in heat because you want so much to be close. And then there's the love Avi KammanTanya, love like children to a father, where the love is very calm, soothing, because of the presence of the essential connection. So we're both. And we are also avodim. There's another word, right? We're slaves to him. We're avodim. We're children.
It's going back to the same thing then. In Hasidus, there are many different ways of looking at the same thing. And you can't get stuck on looking at it one way. You have to be a little fluid and be able to take different positions and different perspectives and different times. It depends on with relationship to what, blah, 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 etc.
And you'll find this, I've mentioned many times, all through Hasidus particularly, the expression Shnehem Emes. Both are true. Put it this way. We're talking about the upper level of unity and the lower level. You don't ask which is true. They're both true. So similarly, banim and avodim, our relationship as children, our relationship as servants, both are true.
I actually have a question about that, but like that concept of elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chaim, that they're both true and there's 70 facets, and that ein mikra yotze midei pshuto, you can't take out the thought from the mikra. The classic stuff.
You said from the mikvah or the mikra?
No, the mikra, the Torah.
Go ahead.
The pshat always remains. So what about the ayin tachas ayin and shein tachas shein? We decidedly say that is absolutely not straightforward.
Well, no, the pshat is valid. That's the pshat.
The pshat, but we never go by the pshat. We never take a tooth from a tooth and an eye for
No,
eye.
the pshat of ayin kakas ayin is the value of an eye for the value of an eye. That's the pshat. That is the pshat. Sometimes you have to, it is the pshat. You have to sometimes, many times, the Gemara is full of this, arriving at what is pshat. It can't mean this, that you take out the eye, because that contradicts something else. So what does it mean? So you have to derive the pshat.
Sometimes you have to derive the pshat?
Sure. Because it says somewhere else contradicts what you thought the pshat was. I mean, that's the simple, most common kind of thing that you see in the Gemara. Other times it's a question of time or period or place. You can't take it this way. And we say in the future, we'll take it, and the pshat will be a different kind of way of understanding. But the pshat is just you strip it. Pshat, means, pshitus means simple, and it also means stripped of all of the other deeper layers. Just what is the meaning? And the Gemara struggles to find the pshat in psukim because of the fact that some psukim seem to I'm just giving this as an example. Some psukim seem to contradict the other psukim. And so how do you resolve it? You have to find the pshat, which is machriya b'neihem, which makes peace between the two of them. And that's the pshat. So
does that particular pasuk need a machriya b'neihem, or that you just
I don't know. I honestly don't know how that's derived.
Okay, but I understand the concept. So that's clear.
Yeah. Okay. So Pesharif, to remind us what you said we're going to do today. Where is she? We're going to take the realization that everything is drenched in elokus, even though it doesn't appear to be, especially when we're in situations where there seems to be some negativity or other kind of distance. Know that Hashem is present there as well, and watch your step. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.